Every civilization believes it is different. Every ruler believes he is smarter than the one before him. And every successful person at the height of his power believes the same quiet lie. It won't happen to me. But history disagrees. Because whether it's emperors, corporations, or entire nations, success seems to trigger the same psychological disease that is called delusion. Let's start with something simple. What does power actually do to the human brain? Neuroscientists from University of Toronto ran a study called the power paradox. They found when people gain authority, even temporarily, the brain mirror neuron begins to shut down. In other words, power literally makes it harder to see other as real. That's not poetry, that's biology. And that's why kings surrounded by starving peasants still demand rights. That's why CEOs firing thousands still call it a strategic realignment. And that's why society in decline always double down on spectacles, not reforms. Because once you stop feeling, you stop correcting, you stop noticing reality slipping away. Take Rome. At its peak, the empire stretched across three continents, powered by trades, wealth, and innovation. But the Romans, they begins to believe their empire was not a system, it was a destiny. That shift from achievement to entitlement was the beginning of their end. The same happens to France. The Sun King built palaces so vast they need 15,000 candles to light them. Meanwhile, peasants were taxed into famine. Louis believes luxury was the proof of divine favor, not realizing it was the very thing rotting his condition. Fast forward to 2000s. In Ron, the smartest guy in the room, they believes profit itself was reality. They built number out of fiction, convinced that confidence would write things. And when it all collapsed, they blamed the system, not their own delusion. So why does this pattern repeat? Because power is self-affirming. The more of it you have, the less you are forced to question yourself. And without friction, the mind stops learning. Psychologists have a term for this: hubris syndrome. It's not arrogance, it's addiction. When you win, when your decision pays off, your brain releases dopamine. That rush not just enforces action, but the beliefs that you were right. The brain does not care if it was still luck or timing. It just says you did good and do more. And when that happens over and over, you begins to crave being right more than being real. That's how politicians lose touch. How billionaires start funding immoral projects instead of fair wages. And that's how influencers confuse attention with meaning. Because success rewrites the brain to treat certainty as a new high. But here is the real tragedy. It does not just happen to individuals, it happens to entire civilizations. For example, when the US became the global superpower, it started to see capitalism as a moral tool, not an economic system. Markets were not just efficient, they were whole. And like all faiths, it stopped tolerating us. Quality became a sign of hard work. It became a lifestyle. Growth became a god. And yet, the same nation that can spend $800 billion a year on defense can't keep 42 million people fed if the government shuts down. That's not failure of policy, it is failure of belief. The delusion that we are too weak to fail is always the last thought before collapse. Collapse rarely begins with explosion. It starts with numbing of awareness, with leaders surrounded by yes, with citizens drowning in entertainment while institutions decay in silence. The mind of power does not see them, it only sees insult. It blames critics, punishes truth-tellers, and doubles down on illusion. By the time reality breaks through, the foundations are already dust. The fall of Rome, the French Revolution, the 2008 financial crisis. Each one was not preceded by genius, but by the illusion of irresistibility. Every generation believes it is the last one wise enough to see the pattern. And yet, the pattern continues. Because power is not just a political force, it is a psychological drug, and humanity, no matter how advanced, still has not found the cure. Maybe the real delusion is not kings or Every empire falls, the smarter one just falls.